Okay, so this is the third time I've started this because no matter how I looked at this, I just do not like how they did it. So I went ahead and marked it out because we're going to do it a different way. Now, there is something I want you to look at. It's right over here. It says, what is the place value relationship that lets me write 50 over 1,000 as 5 over 100? Basically, what is the relationship here? If you look right here, what is the relationship between the 50 and the 5? We talked about this last week. The 50 is 10 times larger than the 5. And if you do the same thing down here, oh, I don't know why I just put a comma. Sorry. Do the same thing down here. 1,000 is 10 times larger to the 100. So the relationship is that they're 10 times larger or 10 or 1/10 the size of that number. So that's what allows us to say, okay, change this is when it comes in handy when we're doing common denominators. Okay. So just remember that. Okay, so I have the height of Coach Roberts is 2 and 54 thousandths meters. Write his height as a decimal. Okay. Look at how you can find work using expanded form. Okay, like I said, I did not like how they did the expanded form. I did not like it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do it with the decimals. Okay, so let's do this. 2 and 54 thousandths. Okay, remember we always look at our whole number first, and the 2 is in the ones place. So 2 times 1 plus, there is no number in the tens place. Well, there is. There's a 0, but there's no point in writing that down. There is a 5 in the hundredths place. So that would be 5 times 100ths, okay, plus the 4 is in the thousandths place. Sorry. Okay, that's one way to write it. Another way to write it would be same thing, 2 times 1 plus, this is when the fractions come into play, and this is where they lost me. 1 over 100. And then plus 4 times 1,000ths. Okay? So that's one way to write it. Because when you work this one out, it's 2 plus 500ths plus 4,000. So there we go. Okay, or you could just put in the place value chart. I honestly find it the simplest if we just do this. Okay, Aubrey runs a 100-meter dash in 14 and 895,000 seconds. What words could you use to read? What words could you use to read that? Okay. So how can you write this as a mixed number? Okay. Well, we could say the whole number is 14. Okay. I don't need that decimal. And I have 895 thousandths. Okay, that would be, I'm sorry, your mixed number form. And you have to remember what a mixed number is. A mixed number is a number that has a whole number, and a fractional part. That fractional part is the 895 thousandths. All right, let's look at the next thing. It says, I'm looking just to make sure that I'm doing this right, because I'd hate to give you the wrong answer, and I am. Okay. That's one way to do it. And another way to do it is to draw a place value chart. And with the place value chart, you have to look. Am I going to have whole numbers? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to draw a box. My first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box. I do a little bit at a time because I don't want it to be too messy. So I do it like this. And your decimal gets its own little box. Yes. Okay, then I have my tenths. Because I would rather you use some space and then try to fit these bigger words in smaller little boxes. I had to learn that the hard way. So we're writing this down. All right. So we have our top column, or that's a row. Sorry, that is a row. Okay. That decimal. Okay. So basically, just write this out. What number is in the tens place? The 1. I'll write this in a different color solution. The 1. And what number's in the ones place? The 4. Okay, so that means if we were to have written this out in expanded form, so it would be 1 times 10 plus 4 times 1. Okay. What number is in the tenths place? The 8. And then the 9 is in the hundredths, and the 5 is in the thousandths. And if we continue doing this, you know how to do this one. We're just going to do fractions. So, there we go. Now we have to actually write it in word form. So, how would you write it? Or how would you say this? If I were to say, hey, say this number to me. You would say the whole number first, and the whole number is 14. So 14. What do we use for the decimal? And. Now, first thing you're going to do is find the smallest unit. The smallest unit is the 5, and it's in the thousandths place. So I'm going to say the number, and then I'm going to tag thousandths to it. So just say the number, 895 thousandths. So 890. Yes. I always forget that there's an E in 90, and it throws me off sometimes. Okay. It's real easy. Sometimes I think this textbook or this workbook explains it just a little bit too like factory. All right. Next one. Paulo measured the width of the sideline of the football field. It was 102 thousandths a meter. Write the width as a fraction and as a decimal in expanded form. Okay, so we have a football field. And this football field, this guy, he went and measured it. And it said that we are going to be using. I'm sorry about that. The phone went off. All right. So what we have to do is we have to show this in a fraction and as a decimal in expanded form. So basically, when it says show your work, and this is going to be really hard, okay? Really. All you have to do is draw a place value chart. That's really all you have to do to show me your work. So once again, we're going to do a chart. Let's start with the ones place. Okay, your decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do this. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. So that's all you have to do. And boop. So just fill in the numbers. Okay, it says 102 thousandths. Okay, so thousandths is where my lowest number is going to be. So it says 102 thousandths. So if you were just to write the number 102 down, that's what it looks like. So that's exactly what we're going to do in here. But first, there is no whole number because it says 102 thousandths. So zeros right here. Okay, and then 102. Now you have to remember, when we do this, when they say write it in decimal and then fractional form, remember, we're just going back to do this. Okay, that's all we got to do. So now all we have to do is write it out. So one way we could do it is we could say that, and they wanted us to do this, is equal to, all right, the 1 is in the tenths place. So we're going to go 1 times 1/10. Okay, the 0 is in the hundredths place, so we do not have to write that down. So we're going to skip to the thousandths place. And that's it. Now, if we did this as a fractional form, it would be 1 times 1 over 10, because it's 1/10, and then 2 over 100ths. No, that's 1,000ths, I'm sorry. Right there. Okay, these right here, some people can get confused on them, but the best thing I find to answer these questions is to actually work them out, and then it helps you so much. All right, so which of the following is a representation of 4 and 82 hundredths? Circle the letter of the correct choice. Now, first thing you need to do is look at the number. It says 4 and 82 hundredths. Okay? Now, let's look over here. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put this in a place value chart. I'm going to go right here. It has to be a little smaller than what we usually do. So ones, decimal, okay, tens, hundreds. I'm just going to do this because I know what it means. And that. Okay. Okay, so 4082. Now, just look at each number. Okay, so we have 4 plus 8 tenths plus 2 thousandths. There's something wrong right here. It is not 8 tenths. There is nothing. There's a 0 in the tenths place. It is 8 hundredths. So this one's wrong. Okay. 4 and 82 hundredths. I have a 4 and, I'm sorry, I read 4 and 82 thousandths. Thousandths. I'm sorry, got those mixed up. So 82,000. Oh, this could be, okay. I don't say mark it first thing. I said, okay, I'm going to put a dot right here. And if everything else doesn't work out, I know that's my correct answer. So I have 4 and 8 and 200. 4 and 8 and 2 hundredths. What's wrong here? There's 2 ands. You can't have 2 ands. We can't have 2 decimals in a number. At least not that I've seen. So that's a no-no. And then this one, I'm going to go ahead and draw brackets. This one has the same problem as letter A. It says 8 times 1/10 when it should be 8 times 100ths. Okay, so the answer is B. Now this one, down here it says Rachel chose D as the correct answer. How did she get that answer? Well, she represented the numbers in the wrong place value. Look right here. She has 8 tenths and 2 hundredths. Basically, she ignored the 0 in the tens place. She ignored the 0 in the tenths place. So she represented 8 hundredths as 8 tenths, and she represented the 2 as 2 hundredths instead of 2 thousandths. So Rachel represented eight hundredths, because we can see right here it's in the hundredths place, as 8 tenths instead of 8 hundredths, and represented 2 thousandths as 2 over 100 instead of 2 over 1,000. Rachel did not I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Rachel did not represent the 0. There we go. That means she didn't give it the credit it's due. That 0 is in the tens place. Okay? It has a purpose. Okay? You just don't skip over it. It has a purpose. All right. So, independent practice. What I would really like you to do is take a few minutes and try to work this out on your own. But you can do that. Pause the video and work it from there. If not, we were going to go through this. Shouldn't take us very long. There's only 6 questions. Okay, Daniel ran the 400 meter dash in 89.023 seconds. Which of the following expressions is the time in words? So remember, when we are reading a mixed number, first, look at your whole number. Okay? Second, well, actually, first, make sure there's a decimal here. You're going to see here in a second. Okay, we're going to say our whole number. What's our whole number? It's 89. And then we have and. So let's look down here. I have 89 and 23 hundredths seconds. I have 89 and 2 tenths and 3 thousandths seconds. 89 and 23 thousandths seconds. And 89,023 seconds. So right off the bat, this right here, they don't have a decimal. So they thought that was a comma. And I do have people that do that. The people will ignore the decimal and they'll just represent it as a comma, but it's not. It's a decimal, okay? So let's go through this again. We are going to do this in a place value chart. Okay? So I have the tens place, which is an 8. Ones place, which is a 9. The decimal point, which is a decimal. My tenths, which is a 0. My hundredths. I'm going to abbreviate real quick, okay? Which is a 2, and the thousandths, which is a 3. Okay? So 89 and 23 hundredths of a second. 2300. No, I'm on the thousandths place, so this is not right. That was not right. I have 89 and 2/10 and 3,000 seconds. That's not right because we have two ands. And before you go all circle happy, make sure you read the correct answer, okay? Because there have been no main mistakes. 89 and 23 thousandths seconds. 23. There you go. Okay. Next one. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put parentheses around some of these. Just because. All right. Now, I have 6 times 1,000, 2 times 10, 3 times 1/10, and then 5 times 1,000ths. Now, the easiest way that I found to do these is just to first answer the multiplication questions. So 6 times 1,000 is 6,000 plus 2 times 10 is 20 plus 3 times 1/10. Now remember when we multiply fractions, you just put the whole number over 0. I'm sorry, yeah, over 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 10 is 10. Same thing right here. 5 times 1 is 5 over 1,000. Now, we have to write this out. I'm going to go ahead and just come right here and go 6,000 plus 20 plus 3/10 plus 5 thousandths. Okay, now let's line them up. So I have 6,000. Remember our little decimal at the end. 20. 3/10. You're not just going to go right here and go, okay? That's not how it works. Line up your decimals. Line up your decimals. So I have a 0.3. If you want to, fill these in with zeros. Okay, do the next one. 5 thousandths. All right, now, let's go ahead. Okay, 5 plus 0 is 5. 0, 3. Okay, all these are zeros. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0, 6. So now all you got to do is find the number that matches that one. Okay. I know it may take you a little bit longer to do this, but this is a good way to, number one, show that you understand how the numbers are broken up and you understand place value, but it also shows you exactly where the numbers are going to go. So just stay with this one. Okay. So a guitar string that plays a very high note is 11 thousandths of an inch thick. A bass string that plays a very low note is 10 times as thick. For each quantity, choose either yes or no to tell whether it is equal to 10 times 11 thousandths. Well, number one, I have to know what 10 times 11 thousandths is. So I have 10 times 11 thousandths. And how did I know that's 11 thousandths? Well, that's the tenths, hundredths, thousandths. It's in the thousandths place. Now remember, anytime I multiply a decimal by a power of 10, that decimal is going to be moving to the left. How many times? That's not left, that's to the right. I'm sorry. I'm going to move it however many zeros. So there's 1 0 here, so I'm going to move it one place to the right. So that means I need to find of these things right here that are equal to that. So let's get started. I have 100 plus 1,000ths. Okay. Remember, I cannot add uncommon denominators. So I have to find a common denominator. And we talked about this earlier. What's the relationship between 100 and 1,000? That's right. 1,000 is 10 times larger than 100. So what I have to do is I have to change both denominators to 1,000. Okay, this one stays the same. So I multiplied 100 times 10 and got 1,000. So I'd also multiply this. So that's just basically 10 plus 1 is 11 over 1,000. Does that equal that? No. Okay, same thing here. What's the relationship between the 10 and the 100? The 100 is 10 times larger. So 100, 100. The 1 stays. I multiply that by 10, and I get 1,100. 11 over 100. That's exactly what that is. That looks exactly like that. 11 hundredths. Yep. 11 ten thousandths. 11 10. I don't think that's a word, or that's a number, so that's a no. Okay? So when you have problems like this, my best advice is to first break it apart, look what the question is asking you first, and then go from there. Like right here, it says 10 times this right here. Some people would have stuck with the 11 thousandths, but make sure you read that question. Okay. Okay, number 4. Which of the following correctly represents 57 and 36 thousandths? I can't read today. Circle the letter that apply. Now, it should say letters because there are 2 possible answers here. I'm sorry. There are 2 possible answers for this problem. So 2 choices. So I have, you're correct if you said I'm going to go ahead and write this out in a place value chart. 5. That's my ones. I have my decimal. Okay. Then my tens place, it's a 0. Hundreds place is a 3. And the thousands is a 6. All right, now, so this is going to be very helpful, okay? Very helpful for when, I'm sorry. This is going to be very, This is going to be very helpful for when you're breaking down each of your answer choices. So we have 57 plus 3 over 100 plus 6 over 1,000. Okay, so we got 57 right. So let's look at the fractional parts. 3 over 100. Well, that's right. 6,006. Well, so I'm going to put a dot right here. Okay. So then I have 57 plus 3 times 10 thousandths, 6 times 10 thousandths. See, when they did this, they're telling you that if you have 3 times 10, okay, look at this. That'll be 30 thousandths plus 60 thousandths. And that would actually give you 57 and 90 thousandths. Okay? If they had did that as a 1, it still wouldn't have done anything. So they needed to do it like that. Okay, I have 57 plus 36 plus 1/10. one hundredths. All right, basically all you have to do is like with your 36 times 1/100ths. That's the same thing as saying you are going to divide by 100. Okay. So if you were to divide 36 by 100, you'd move that decimal 2 places over, and you'd have 0.36. And we don't have 0.36. Okay. So we have 57, 36 times that. So you do the same thing over here. Which gives you 36 divided by 1,000. Move it 1, 2, 3 places over. Okay. And then 57 and 36 hundredths. Nope, I have 36 thousandths. So we have D and A. All right, represent 240 and 149 thousandths in two different ways. Then explain how each shows the place value of the digit number. Okay, so basically all we have to do is we have to write this two different ways. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my regular thing. I'm going to show it as a place value chart. Okay, so first things first, let's look at our numbers. Our largest number is the hundreds. And lucky for us, we have lines, so I'm not going to go crooked. Okay, so we have hundreds, tens, ones, okay, decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay. Okay, so just fill in the blanks. The 2 is in the hundredths place. The 4 is in the tens place. The 0 is in the ones. The ones place. The 1 is in the tenths. The 4, there's another 4 in the hundredths, and a 9 is in the thousandths place. So this is one way you could have possibly answered that question. Another way is we could have done it in expanded form. So if we did this in expanded form, we would say 2 times 100 plus 4 times 10. Okay, I don't have that. 1 times 1/10. 4 times 100ths. And then 9 times 1,000ths. Okay, so each place you are using, so right here, each value is represented. How would I put that? This method uses decimals to show the place value of fractional numbers. Okay, this shows the whole number and fractional. I'm sorry, it's thundering outside if you hear anything like that. Okay. So basically this shows the whole number and the fractional parts. The fractional parts are the decimal numbers. I know some people, they say, but Miss Moore, it's not a fraction, but you say fractional. A fraction and a decimal are the same thing. It just depends on how you choose to write it. Okay, Alex wrote 103 and 9. I'm sorry, 103 and 903 thousandths. That's a little hard in decimal format. So I'm going to go ahead and do this because just like me a few minutes ago, I got confused on the 103. So explain his mistake. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is, I know y'all may not like this, but the best thing to do is to draw a place value chart. You could do that. And we're going to walk through this. All right, so I have a 1 in the hundreds place. So that gives me the 100. So that's good. Okay. I have a 3. I have a 3 in the ones place. That's right. Okay. 9 is in the tenths place. Uh-oh. Look what she did there. That's one mistake. And then I have a 3 in the thousands place. Now, we have found her mistake. Or Alex. I don't know if it's a boy or girl. Okay, so Alex wrote 9 times 100, which equals 9 hundredths. Okay? It does not equal 9 tenths, which that is the correct representation of it because it's 9 tenths. Okay? Alex should have written 9 times 1/10. Okay? So, like I said, with word problems, break them apart and just work them one step at a time, and you can answer these. All right, I will talk to y'all later. Have a good day.